The New York Times broke a big story about what was called the RNC intelligence squad within the New York Police Department. Now, this is not the federal government. This is the New York police that are doing this on their own, with the approval, by the way, of Mayor Bloomberg, a guy who I've given a lot of credit to in the past, who I've said some good things about, because I thought he's run New York pretty well. See, what was happening in 2004 is that the Republicans were going to have their convention in New York, in Manhattan, at Madison Square Garden. We were there, we know. And so the New York Police Department decided, hey, listen, we can't take any chances. You know, New York is obviously a prime target, and this is a Republican convention, and we got to make sure we can protect it. So 18 months before the convention started, they decided to do intelligence on their own, not relying on the federal government. Now, I think so far, so good. God bless them. They should, and that makes a lot of sense. Of course, immediately they got into areas where I'm incredibly uncomfortable, and I suspect all of you will be incredibly uncomfortable. They immediately went and started spying on left-wing political groups. So who did these guys investigate? Okay. Street theater companies? In other words, clowns, you know. Now, look, there's a lot of great street theater companies, and some of them have great clowns in them. Some of them have mimes, some of them are troops. Okay, some of them are flat-out entertainers. Not a lot of terrorists among those clowns and mimes or street theater companies, and some of them put together Shakespeare, and some of them put together anti-Bush theater acts. Who cares? Now, look, if I'm the head of the Secret Intelligence Committee for the New York, and somebody says to me, hey, look, I want to look into street theater companies, I'd say, man, you better have something on them, because that doesn't seem to make too much sense to me. So you better show me a piece of evidence that says there's a very dangerous clown in that company. Church groups. Because you know how dangerous church groups are. I mean, they will bust out a Bible on you before you know what hits you. Okay? And left-wing church groups, those peaceniks, they're the most dangerous people around. I mean, they'll quote you about the Prince of Peace. Prince of Peace, please. Those church groups are a nest of terrorists. Okay? So they look into church groups. Anti-war organizations, because if you're for peace, of course, that must mean you're violent. And of course, environmentalists, because environmentalists would be in cahoots with Al-Qaeda. Why? Are Al-Qaeda looking to protect the forest? Is that what's happening? So environmentalists are also wait a minute, there's more. People opposed to the death penalty. Once again, a well-known group of violent people. Okay. No, they're opposed to the death penalty. They don't want to kill people. Okay? Globalization people and people opposed to globalization and people opposed to other government policies. Well, if you're opposed to government policies, then obviously you're dangerous, and we need to send a spy in to check in on your group. Okay? Now, mind you, in none of these cases, of these groups that I talked to you about, did they have any evidence of any criminal wrongdoing, or even a vague, a hint of an idea of maybe doing something wrong at some point. None. Zero. A police report on an organization of artists called Bands Against Bush noted, and I'm quoting from the New York Times here, Bands Against Bush, wow, they must be dangerous, noted that the group was planning concerts on October 11, 2003 in New York, Washington, Seattle, San Francisco, and Boston. Between musical sets, the report said there would be political speeches and videos. Well, I'm sure glad somebody was looking at these dangerous guys. Here's what the report on Bands Against Bush says. Activists are showing a well-organized network made up of anti-Bush sentiment. The mixing of music and political rhetoric indicates sophisticated organizing skills with a specific agenda. Police departments in above-listed areas have been contacted regarding this event. And as well they should be. Political rhetoric mixed with music? Well, this is well-organized indeed for music and political speeches. What part of this is violent? What part of this is criminal? What part of this is un-American? I mean, what part of this needs to be investigated? What part of this needs to have spies go into their groups, infiltrate them, take pictures of them, take their names down, and put them up in folders called NYPD Secret. And you think, well, what's the big deal? Well, they just investigated them. They arrested these people later, okay? They arrested them. For why? Because they're organizing music and political speeches. I mean, do we live in the United States of America? I'm asking you, if you're a Republican or a conservative and you have any kind of compunction or you believe in this country at all, are we living in the United States of America? And would you be comfortable with Democrats doing likewise? I mean, shoot, you want to talk about violent groups? We want to talk about spying on people? Militias? From my understanding is they all have guns. I don't think Bands Against Bush has guns. I don't think the environmentalists have guns. I don't think the church groups have guns. I don't think the street theater companies have guns. Militias have guns. Republicans have guns. Okay? And you think, but all of a sudden, you investigate these guys, but when a Democrat gets in office, you don't want to investigate any Republicans, right? Should we send spies into all those groups? No, we shouldn't send spies into those guys either. Because we're supposed to live in the United States of America. 3 city council members were spied on and investigated. Why? They had the audacity to attend a January 14, 2004 event in honor of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. How dare they? The report says the RNC, the war in Iraq, and the Bush administration were part of the speeches. Ooh, wow. People honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, who was in favor of peace, talking about peace. And they were investigated. They were city council members. Okay. Point number 2. Other groups that were investigated. Queers for Peace and Justice and the 1199 Bread and Roses Cultural Project. Yeah, Bread and Roses Cultural Project. They're a big threat to American values and to do something criminal. Queers for Peace and Justice? Queers for Peace and Justice. They're the big terrorism threat in America. Queers for Peace and Justice. Okay, point number 3. The War Resisters League. War Resisters League. They're a pacifist organization founded in 1923. They're a pacifist organization. Their whole point of the group is to not have violence. It's to not have violence. All right. Well, how about these guys? Man and Woman in Black Bloc. You know what they are? They're a group of delegates interested in using Johnny Cash as their theme. Ooh, big terrorism threat. Better investigate them. How about Billionaires for Bush? Here's what the report said about this satirical performance troupe. Billionaires for Bush is an activist group forges a mockery of the current president and political policies. Well, then you better investigate them. This is supposed to be investigating criminal activity. Why? It continues. Preliminary intelligence indicates that this group is raising funds for expansion and support of anti-RNC activist organizations. And I say to that, so what? I thought we lived in America. They arrested 1,806 of these people based on what they said was, quote, pre-convention intelligence. They arrested them.